Good day, fish tankers. I hope everything's going swimmingly. Today I want to talk about aquarium or fish keeping groups on social media, specifically WhatsApp or Facebook. Is it an invaluable resource of information? Is it a way to connect with fellow hobbyists and solve problems? Or is it a toxic cesspool where people pull each other apart if left alone for long enough? On which side of the coin do you belong, or do you think it's a bit of both, or are there ways how we can manage this to the benefit of everyone? Is that a topic you are interested in? Then stick around. Way back in the day, in the 90s, when I managed a pet shop, we had an aquarium group which I found very enjoyable. I see they're starting that up in certain parts of the country and in Joburg. I don't know of anyone close here in Cape Town. If you do, let me know in the comment section. I should maybe start one, but I just don't have the time for that with all the things that I'm doing currently. But we had aquarium groups, and we did a strange thing in those days. We actually met in person and we interacted with each other, and it was very enjoyable. The only problem was there were two guys that operated the store. It was myself with Eikenstad Pet Shop, and then there was a guy called Henk there with, I think it was Somerset Pets. I'm speaking under correction, it's a long time ago. And all our members were either aged people or senior citizens, that's a better word, and we had a lot of teenagers. And in the end it petered out because the senior citizens had a habit of dying and the teenagers had a habit of discovering girls, and then we lost our whole membership base of teenage boys. But back in those days we met in person, and we still do hopefully, but now social media is all the thing, and there's hundreds of fish keeping and plant keeping and aquarium keeping social media groups, mostly on Facebook, and most of them also have a WhatsApp offshoot. I personally prefer the Facebook format. The WhatsApp gets a bit busy for me, and it's easier to find a thread of a conversation for me on Facebook. But with these things, there sometimes happens things that are not so good. For instance, little Johnny or little Janet or even Big John and Big Jane set up their first aquarium, and they've got everything running nicely, perhaps just a 2-foot tank or a 12-gallon tank or something like that, with blue gravel and a SpongeBob little house and plastic plants, and there's a couple of guppies swimming. And they proudly put that on the Facebook group, and then everybody has a go at them and tells them what they're doing wrong and rips them apart and hurts them emotionally to such an extent that they're out of a hobby or will never go on any aquarium Facebook again. And that's the thing that sometimes happens with social media. So I think when we talk about these groups, the first thing we must keep in mind is, number one, as in life, so on social media. I think it was Mike Tyson, or Mike Tyson meme at least, I don't know if it was himself, that said something to the effect, social media has made everybody too brave about their opinions because nobody is there to punch you in the face. That's a joke, and it's an extreme example, but people get very brave behind their keyboards. So don't do something on social media, not only fish keeping groups, just in general, you're self-publishing. So don't do something on a WhatsApp group or on a Facebook group that you would not do if a person is not standing across from you. Have some manners. That's the first rule you got to keep in mind when you open your smartphone or your laptop and you're on a group. Then the second thing is, read the rules of the group. All these groups are different, and some allow certain things and others don't allow other things. But for instance, I'm on many groups, but one of them that I'm on is an aquarium co-op group. Yeah, everybody knows Corey McElroy in America. He's a huge YouTuber. And I can't go and share the links to my YouTube channel on his Facebook group. It's against the rules, and it's completely understandable. They promote their own products and their own brands on that Facebook group, along with giving advice to beginners. So that's understandable. He's worked hard for it, so I don't do that there. Then another thing that we must keep in mind, we like to say give more than you get, and that's always a good thing in life. But don't give advice if you are not sure about what you're talking about. So I've seen, especially in the really big groups, people having a problem with their aquarium, and they get given all kinds of advice there in the comment section. Some good, some so-so, and some really terrible advice that will kill the fish. So you may mean well, but if you don't know how to solve a problem, rather not give advice, rather pause until there's something you can help with, or simply share nice pictures of your fish or your tank if you're not sure. For instance, I've been keeping fish for a very long time, but there are certain things I don't know anything about. So if you're going to ask me about killifish, I've never kept them, so if anything, I'll send you the way of somebody who has. I have kept a simple marine aquarium with fish and some marine shrimps. So if you want to set up that, a very simple one, I can tell you how to do that. But if you want to keep a reef, I know nothing about reef keeping. I've never done that, so I'm not your guy for that. So make sure before you give advice, it sounds logical, that you actually know what you're talking about and you're not helping that person inadvertently into a bigger problem. Then the other thing that we must keep in mind, there's more than one way to do certain things. Some of us like to keep planted aquariums with a full ADA system and CO2 and all kinds of fancy substrate, and there's nothing wrong with it. That is a terrific way to do it. While others of us, like myself, who have more low-tech stuff with dirted substrates, without the CO2, with maybe cheaper lights and easier to grow plants, and there's nothing wrong with that either. So if somebody isn't doing it your way, it's not necessary to attack them or be condescending, except that people like to do things different ways. Unless, of course, if you now in the ADA group, yeah, I'm not going to go there with my deep dirted substrates and stuff. That is for high-tech planted aquariums. And just like that, if there's a group called low-tech planted aquariums, that's not for you if you're an ADA fan or have a CO2 injection and all those things. That's not low-tech stuff. So make sure that you're on an appropriate group. So that is the other thing. And then we must also realize, just like there are different ways to do something, there are things that are just black and white, right or wrong. Certain things cannot be condoned. So there would be a lot of debate about, for instance, what's the ideal tank size for an Oscar. That's not a hard and straight answer. But one thing you can't do is you can't put an Oscar in a 100-liter 3-foot tank. That's too small for that fish, and there's no arguments about that. That's not go your own way, you crazy diamond. That comes down to animal abuse. So also realize that certain things are just wrong, and if you are helped in the right way, in a polite way, then don't throw your toys about it. Don't expect people to tolerate animal abuse or things that are just obviously wrong, like, for instance, keeping a goldfish in a gallon bowl. Expect to be taken out if you're going to do things like that. And then the final point, don't be an arsehole. Don't go on there and waste people's time asking for advice, then argue with them, and then eventually do the wrong thing that is causing you the problems in the first place, and just carry on doing that and waste everybody's time. Don't be an arsehole. If you're not going to take advice, there's no use in asking. So don't go there just to troll. And that's what I think. In general, I enjoy these groups. As I've mentioned, I'm easier with a Facebook format than the WhatsApp format. I don't always have an alert set. I'll check it maybe once a day, and sometimes it's been very handy for me to ask a question. In the groups where I can, I'll share my videos if it's something that someone's interested in, and so on. But always with these groups, keep in mind, even though that person is sitting on the other end of a computer or a smartphone, treat the interaction as if you're sitting there in person. I think that's what sometimes goes wrong with these social media fish keeping groups. Let me know in the comment section, what were your experiences? What do you think of these groups? And do you think it's a good thing? Do you think it's a bad thing? And are some groups better than others? Let me know. And please remember, as always, to hit that thumbs up. I'll greatly appreciate it. And consider subscribing. That'll also help me to grow the channel. And until we see each other again, keep taking good care of those domestic denizens of the deep.